take a look at the grid then for this upcoming 26-lap Grand Prix. It's Jorge Martin from Luca Barini and Aleix Espargaro, and you'll notice there Martin has not deviated this time, at this stage at least. He's gone for the hard rear tyre. Bezzecchi and Binder for head of World Championship leader Pecco Bagnaia. They start together on the second row of the grid. On the third row, it's Alex Marquez, Marc Marquez and Maverick Vinales. Alex Marquez at the moment the only rider who's gone to the grid with the medium rear tyre. Fabio Quartararo, who was quickest in warm-up this morning, 10th from Johann Zarco, last weekend's Australian Grand Prix winner, and Augusto Fernandez automatically through to Q2 on Friday. Fabio Gian Antonio, who's got the pace to be much higher than that, 13th from Ralph Fernandez and Jack Miller. Ralph Fernandez, the sole rider so far on the hard front tyre. Taka Nakagami, Paul Espargaro, who's also on the hard front, and Frankie Morbidelli starting from 18th position. He was also quick in warm this morning. Joan Mir, Miguel Oliveira and Enea Bastianini on the back row of the grid. Oliveira also has the hard front tyre. The big headline looking at the rear tyre option so far on the riders going to the grid is that Alex Marquez at the moment is the sole rider on the medium rear tyre.
So the pre-race atmosphere building. I wonder how big the smile might be on Miguel Oliveira's face right now. Of course, in the rain conditions here 1 year ago, he won, albeit then on the factory KTM. I don't think he'll be bothered about a pouring down of rain.
Certainly from 20th on the grid.
20th on the grid on the Crypto Data RNF machine, looking for a big result as well before they go to their home Grand Prix in Sepang in a couple of weeks' time. So banging the drum at the front of the grid. Who is going to be banging the drum at the end of this 26-lap OR Grand Prix of Thailand? Brad Binder, second in the sprint, his 6th sprint podium of the season, although you've got to go back to the Red Bull Ring in Austria for his last Sunday podium in MotoGP. Plenty of South African fans have made the long trip here to Buriram. Now, this is a huge weekend, particularly with the pressure of the championship to contend with as well, and some doubts about whether we're going to have a full dry OR Grand Prix of Thailand. What's going through the mind of Jorge Martin's team boss, Gino Borsoi, who joins Simon on the grid?
He does. Nervous as always, I imagine. Gino, you're having an incredible debut year as a MotoGP team manager. Your rider, Jorge Martin, the favourite today. Please give us your thoughts.
Well, favorite, I cannot say he's a favorite for sure. He was one of the fastest rider on track so far, but today is another day. Today is another day where the rider have to manage the rear tire, not in terms of consumption, but they have to be really smooth on the exit of the corner, because then the temperature are coming high and start to move the bike. So they have to be really smart to keep the tire safe for the last part of the race.
Thank you, best of luck.
Yeah, you do feel it's not going to be all about the speed. It's going to be who can manage the speed and be smart at the same time, because we do expect quite a significant tyre drop-off, particularly with the rear tyre. A couple of riders, including Martin, reporting yesterday that the drop around lap 7 or 8 with the medium rear was a little bit more aggressive than what they were anticipating. So you're not going to be able to go full pelt off the line here this afternoon. And that's a situation that Jorge Martin knows only too well after the Australian Grand Prix 8 days ago, when he was just 8 corners away from the Phillip Island success. Now then, the factory Aprilia team, Aleix Espargaro finds himself on the front row for just the 4th time in 2023, and a strong ride to 5th in the sprint yesterday. Maverick Vinales, unfortunately, not competing for the top 3 yesterday after a difficult sprint. And as Massimo Rivola see his boys coming up in this Thai Grand Prix, the Aprilia Ross joins Simon.
He does, Massimo. Aleix looked so strong yesterday, and it looked to me that if he can stay clear of trouble on the early corners, early laps, that he really has a chance. I want to know what you think of both riders going into the long race today.
Yeah, it looks like we are not too bad. In fact, better than expected, as we all said. A bit disappointed for Maverick because he showed the best pace almost all over the grid. So let's see if Maverick can get a clean first lap. That will be the key. Yesterday we saw him going long at the corner 3 because of the front device. But yeah, Aleix fight for all the race, and I think he will do the same today. Let's see with the hard tires. I think everybody will fit the hard tires, and let's see if someone will manage or start, let's say, pushing hard from the beginning to try to get an advantage.
Thank you, Massimo.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Massimo Rivera from the factory Aprilia team. They expect Vignales also to be in the hunt then today for the podium. A problem with the ride height device costing him in that 13-lap sprint yesterday. We'll go back down onto the grid, of course. Every race hugely important now at this late phase of the 2023 title chase. He's on screens now, the reigning world champion, Pecco Bagnaia. How's the nerves for his team boss, Paolo Ciabatti, who's with Simon?
He is, Paolo. Everybody's saying how important it is to manage the rear tyre in this race, and we know how good Pecco is at that, especially at this stage of the weekend when he's got the bike, you know, with his engineers all set up. Please give us your thoughts.
No, it's true. It's going to be crucial. Obviously, yesterday I think his race was just damaged by a very bad start, and then it took him some time to pass Zarco and Alex Marquez, and then but his pace was good after that. Now today's race, I think we've been working quite well during warm-up, and you could see he was very fast and very consistent. So I think it's going to be a much better race for Pecco. For sure, Jorge is going to be strong also here, but I think there is going to be a nice battle, and Pecco is good in managing the tires, as you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Paolo Ciabatti. We've never had a Ducati winner of a tyre Grand Prix. Marc Marquez did it, of course, for HRC in 2018 and 2019, and last year in the torrential rain conditions it was Miguel Oliveira that prevailed on the factory KTM. Short odds, fair to say, on Ducati winning here today. They look so strong. Jorge Martin trying to keep himself focused, keep himself in the zone. He's got the ice-cold damp towel wrapped around his neck, just so the same Pecco Bagnaia. What's going through the minds of our title contenders? The pressure and tension is enough as it is, without having major doubts about whether this Grand Prix will start dry, whether it will finish in dry conditions. They're used to dealing with anything that gets thrown at them, but it's a whole different ball game when the title chase is on such a knife edge as Luca Marini. He keeps himself as cool as he possibly can be. He's been lacking strength in that recovering left collarbone. This will feel like a very long 26-lap Thai Grand Prix. As Bagnaia, look at that, another look towards the skies. As we just mentioned there, this is the only circuit on the current Grand Prix calendar where Ducati have never won. Pecco Bagnaia, he would dearly love to end that winless streak, wouldn't he? Because it would mean him increasing that 18-point lead in the World Championship. Look at the anxious faces there on Bezzecchi's crew chief, Matteo Flamini. He looked really nervous, didn't he? Really nervous. So Jorge Martin, look at the ice and the temperature that he's got dripping off that ice cool towel. Pecco Bagnaia, he's had a couple of big glares, hasn't he, towards the sky to see whether we are going to get a dry 26-lap OR Grand Prix of Thailand. It's dry as it stands right now.
The other big question, of course, is not just if it does rain, but how heavily it rains, because, of course, we have seen in the past here races delayed due to heavy rain. If it rains heavy enough for them to be able to still stay out there, of course, we are in flag-to-flag territory. Of course, we had a flag-to-flag race in Motegi where they all came in at the end of the first lap of the race, so we could be in very familiar and similar territory to that in this upcoming Thai Grand Prix. So the riders will be watching the skies as much as they're watching the road ahead of them. And you feel this is one rider in the form of Marc Marquez who wouldn't be too disappointed if it did dump it down in the next hour or so, because he is the famed flag-to-flag master.
Yeah, and he always says you have to take those opportunities when they come your way, just as he did in that tricky race in India, just as he did in the wet conditions in Motegi, which is part of this long and intense overseas tour. 8 Grand Prix in 10 weeks to bring us to what we hope will be a thrilling final round finale in Valencia at the end of next month, as we get set very, very shortly for what is always a very special pre-race grid ceremony here at the Chang International Circuit in Thailand. Anxiety etched all over the face of world champion Pecco Bagnaia, as we are going to pause for a few moments to listen to the Thai national anthem.
ประเทศไทยรวมเลือดเนื้อชาติเชื้อไทยเป็นประชารัฐผัดไทยของไทยทุกส่วนอยู่ดำรงคงไว้ได้ทั้งมวลด้วยไทยล้วนหมายรักสามัคคีไทยนี่รักสงบแต่ถึงรบไม่คลาดเอกราชจักรไม่ให้ใครข่มขีสละเลือดทุกหยาดเป็นชาติพลีพะเลิงประเทศชาติไทยทวีมีชัยชัยโย
The atmosphere is building. 8 minutes to go before this Thai Grand Prix gets underway. High hopes, I'm sure, for KTM, with Brad Binder going from the second row as looks to go one better than he did in the sprint yesterday. Let's get some pre-race thoughts from his KTM team manager, Francesco Guidotti, with Simon.
Yes, Jack's qualifying didn't go to plan, but Brad is on the second row. We saw what he could do yesterday. If he can get through Kalina, what do you think he can do today, Francesco?
We're ready to race. We're ready to enjoy another good race, another good result. Will be a long race for everyone. Will be tough because of the condition and good start. The plan is have a good start, take a good pace, and try to finish the race in front of everyone.
Hey, best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Brad Binder is seen by many as a serious threat for victory here this afternoon. Luca Marini was one of those who felt that he was going to be a serious victory contender. Of course, so often aggressive on the early lap, so often a fast starter. He starts in between 2 of our 3 remaining title contenders, although Marco Bezzechi's hopes are beginning to look rather remote. It is the 150th Grand Prix start of Jorge Martin's career. He's 51st in the MotoGP class, but all he's interested in is a 4th victory of 2023 to go with his 7 sprint wins, and that man, Pecco Bagnaia, is out to stop him.
Yeah, Martin then coming to the grid. There are the Martinator fans. Is there going to be another huge plot twist here on this overseas tour, which started in Indonesia in Mandalika? Jorge Martin blew a 3-second lead, having just seized the initiative in the MotoGP World Championship with that sprint win in Lombok, immediately surrendering the championship lead back to Pecco Bagnaia, who came from 13th on the grid to win in Mandalika. And then last time out, Martin was once again 3 seconds clear of the pursuing pack when that soft Michelin rear tyre gamble was so close to paying off, wasn't it? So close to the ultimate big reward. 8 corners away from winning that Australian Grand Prix. And benefiting from his late slump was his teammate Jean Zarco, who took his career first MotoGP victory, and Pecco Bagnaia, who took 20 points, which at that stage moved him 27 clear of Martin, but The goalpost changed again at the end of yesterday's 13-lap sprint, but it's double the distance, double the points, and usually, more often than not, double the drama in the full Grand Prix on Sundays in MotoGP.
And certainly double the jeopardy if it starts to rain at any stage over the next hour or so. It's a race that we're expecting to be dictated by tyre consumption and perhaps a little bit of a tactical first phase of this race while they ensure that they've got some rubber at the end of the race. That could all change. Jorge Martin pointing up at the skies. He's well aware of what potentially could be heading our way. Winner of our last flag-to-flag Grand Prix, although that one, of course, did not run its full distance. What must be going through the mind of our two leading world title contenders when you're in the kind of position that they're in? What you want is predictability, and that's not what they're likely to face over the next 45 minutes or so.
Ducati winless here in Buriram. They took their 13th successive pole of 2023 in that Q2 session yesterday. Martin versus Bagnaia, factory Ducati versus Pramac Ducati. We await with bated breath here in Buriram for the start of this 26-lap Grand Prix of Thailand. Getting himself now fully in the zone, blocking out the noise, blocking out the pressure, goes Jorge Martin as he fires away from that 13th MotoGP pole position, 34th of his Grand Prix career yesterday, as he was once again completely untouchable in that 15-minute Q2 session. Another all-time lap record going the way of the 25-year-old Spaniard, who looks a little bit nervy, you have to say, and with good reason. He knows the significance of this race. He's praying for it to be dry, as we are in the commentary box. A big intake of breath there from Martin. He's got the Alpine Stars towel that's been drenched in the ice bucket to keep him as cool as he possibly can. But the countdown here in Buriram, well and truly underway. 5 minutes to a race start. The BMW safety car peels away from the front of the grid. A grid which is led by title contender Martin. Marini on the front row for just the 8th time in his Premier Class career. He was third in that sprint yesterday. And Marco Bezzecchi getting some late words of encouragement. He goes from 4th place with a later Spargo on the front row. The 34-year-old Spaniard, just his 4th front row start of the season. Luca Marini on the Mini V46 Ducati. Can he be Ducati's 5th Grand Prix winner in 2023? Or is there more magic coming from Jorge Martin? 13th pole position for him in his MotoGP career, 13th in a row this season for Ducati. Martin on pole in Buriram. 22 riders came to Portimao for round 1 in the 2023 MotoGP World Championship, aiming for title glory. Just 3 remain in contention ahead of this OR Grand Prix of Thailand. Starting from pole position for the 13th time this season goes Jorge Martin off the back of his 5th consecutive Tissot Sprint win on Super Saturday yesterday. He's 18 points behind series leader Pecco Bagnaia in the championship chase. Just 3 rounds, 6 races remain after this afternoon's action here at the Chang International Circuit in Buriram. A warm-up lap which gets underway under threatening grey and black skies. There's been some heavy cloud cover enveloped this 4.55 kilometre Buriram circuit. Plenty of nervous, anxious faces looking skywards. It looks like we're going to get the start of the 26 lapper underway in dry conditions. Ambient temperature 31 degrees. It's been a scorcher. It's been boiling in Buriram since we first arrived from a somewhat chillier and cooler Phillip Island in Australia last weekend. He's got the Red Bull slogan on the helmet, gives you wings. Jorge Martin would love to fly to another success here this afternoon to heap more pressure on reigning world champion Pecco Bagnaia. Fonzi Nieto, Gino Borsoi, look at the stress. It's etched all over their faces. Scratching his head there, wasn't he? Nervous, just trying to find something to do with his fingers there, wasn't he? Pramac Ducati rider coach Fonzi Nieto. Davide Tardozzi, Ducati Lenovo team manager, rocks from side to side. I'm sure he's already gnawed away his fingernails. The prime concern going into this 26-lap Grand Prix is, will it stay dry? We had torrential rain here in Buriram 1 year ago. Your race winner on that occasion, when he was a factory KTM star, was Miguel Oliveira. Marc Marquez, will he take advantage of some inclement weather to make it 3 wins here in the Thai Grand Prix? Almost 180,000 fans have turned up here in Thailand to see what looks like being another titanic tussle in this MotoGP World Championship. The field come to the grid. Pecco Bagnaia ready, in position, 6th place on the grid for the world champion. Will he still have that 18-point advantage at the end of this 26-lap Thai Grand Prix in 2023? It's full throttle, it's lights out, we're racing here in Buriram. It's a brilliant launch from the middle of that front row by Luca Marini. He's going to get the drop on Jorge Martin, although Martin comes around the outside through the first corner. Bagnaia's away well too from 6th place. He goes side by side with Alex Marquez. Bagnaia up into 4th already.
Yeah, much better from Bagnaia, although he's going to be under attack from Binder. He's side by side with Binder and Alex Marquez into turn number 3. It looks suspiciously like a jump start for Maverick Vinales, but we'll have to take a closer look at that. He's just behind that trio, battling for 5th.
Bagnaia toughed it out there in the brakes. He was squeezed in between Binder and Alex Marquez, but he got the better of both of them in that braking zone, the hard braking zone for turn 3. So Bagnaia into 4th place, begins his pursuit of your race leader Martin. Alexis Spargo's got through on Marini, up into 2nd place on the factory Aprilia. Marquez trying to find a way through on Bezzecchi in the turn 5 for the first time. No way through.
I think if he'd offered Pecco Bagnaia that at the end of the first lap, he would have taken it. He's got himself into the race here, into the battle at the front, as Binder is up behind him with Alex Marquez, who is the only rider on the medium rear tyre, running 6th.
Going backwards is Bezzecchi. He's had a real tough first lap. He's been picked off by Marquez and Quartararo on this. Certainly that big scare there for Bagnaia. I don't know if he got picked up. I was just looking further back to try and track Marquez and Quartararo. I don't know if that was Binder's aggression that lifted up Pecco Bagnaia, but coming through was the South African on the factory KTM and Alex Marquez too. So Bagnaia has been pushed back down to P6.
Back where he started. Here comes Binder trying to get at the inside of Luca Marini, as Binder now goes on the attack again, having got past Bagnaia. Someone else was off in the back of the picture. It looked like one of the 2 Gas Tech 3 KTMs that had ran wide, but Martin leads it in the first lap. But as we suspected, he's not bolted. He wants to make sure he's got some grip left at the end, as Vinales goes way out wide into turn 1.
Was that just a front-end scare early on here for Bagnaia, or was he picked up by the hard-charging Brad Binder? Here comes Aleix Espargaro trying to find a way through on Martin at the end of the straight. Oh, that was so close. These two are as close as brothers off the circuit. Bagnaia picks up Marquez, retaliates then back into 5th place, now recovering after that skirmish and scare on the opening lap.
How does Martin play this then? I'm sure he would like to just leave a little bit of margin in his early laps, not to take too much out of his rear tyre, but that puts him under threat from behind, and Aleix Espargaro is very keen to try and take the lead away from the Martinator, as Marini now shows his front wheel up the inside of Aleix Espargaro. The field's still very much close together, which is not what they were after a lap of the sprint yesterday.
Yeah, Martin knows he can't go gung-ho early on here, as Binder lines up a move on Marini. thought about it, coming through turn 8, no way through. Martin knows that this is a long 26-lap race. Tyre preservation will be pivotal, and he just cannot bolt. He can't try and brake early on, otherwise he may well encounter the same kind of deterioration on that rear tyre that he had in Philippine last weekend. So this is Martin early on, just protecting that lead and riding as fast as he dare to manage the tyres.
Alex Marquez through again on Bagnaia. He's certainly making Pecco's life difficult in this early stage. It looked like Bagnaia was launching a revenge mission on Binder, and he ended up losing a place once again. To show you how relatively slow the leading pace is, the fastest rider on track is Marco Bezzecchi, although he's now sailed wide into turn 1. He'd just done a 1:31.6.
Yeah, sailing through came Ralph Fernandez, who's having a good ride. Matt Couto Data, RNF Aprilia. A lot better than his teammate Miguel Oliveira, who's down in 18th place. He's just been picked off by Morbidelli around the outside. That's not going to work, is it, for Binder? Hard on the brakes. There's Marc Marquez now, hugging the rear tyre at Bagnaia's factory Ducati. You can clearly see here Martin just not willing to push with his normal, hard, aggressive attacking style early on, because he knows at the back of his mind will be that tyre protection. So he just has not been willing to stick his neck right out here, as Alex Marquez coming from a long way back, trying to pinch that inside line through 5 on Binder. No way through.
And Marc Marquez having a look at Bagnaia too. So Bagnaia, who knows he's not exactly out of contention here, although he's running 6th. Of course, this pack is still very much together, but he needs to be careful here that he doesn't drop too far back down the order. As Binder this time does come through on Luca Marini. It took him quite a while to pass him in the sprint yesterday. It's taken him just 2.5 laps this time.
Yeah, that was nicely done, wasn't it, by Brad Binder? That was a aggressive and clean move from the South African then, who finds himself just like he was in the sprint yesterday, inside those top 3 places very early on. We've still got 1 corner and 23 laps to go here in Thailand. Here comes Alex Marquez coming from a long way back as he tries to get through on Luca Marini. How tight were Binder and Marini there in that turn 12, the bottom gear turn 12, to 70 kilometres an hour. Bagnaia still can't get through again, can he, on the Gresini Ducati of Marquez.
Bagnaia doesn't need all of this, does he? Looking at all the chaos going up ahead of him and the battling between Marquez and Marini, Bagnaia just wants a nice and steady and nice and comfortable race here without too much drama in front or behind him, but looks like there's going to be plenty of it as he closes in under braking. Marc Marquez still very much in touch in 7th. Fabio Quartararo's also had a pretty decent first 3 laps. He's just the back of the picture here, running in 8th place, and he will feel the longer this race goes, the stronger he should get.
Bagnaia not where he wants to be, of course, in terms of the championship, but also in terms of front tyre temperature and pressure. He cuts that inside line through the 4th gear, turn 4, and here comes Marquez, who's going to pinch that inside line through 5, and he squeezes Bagnaia out to the paintwork, and now Marc Marquez then comes through up into 6th place. As we mentioned, that's beautiful by Bagnaia, although I think Marquez is going to try and get him on the cutback. They're losing a little bit of precious time here. They try and tough it out. Bagnaia's right leg almost clipped by the left fairing of the Repsol as Binder now through on Aleix Espargaro. This is like a Moto3 battle here, isn't it, early on in Buriram. Bagnaia, though, now has been pushed back down to 7th place. He's going from bad to worse for the world champ.
Bagnaia might have to just change plans here. If he was trying to stay patient, I think he's just going to have to get on with this and just start fighting fire with fire. Aleix Espargaro now looking the inside of Luca Marini, who tries to turn across the front nose, and that lets Alex Marquez through.
How close was that? Aleix Espargaro almost having contact with Alex Marquez as he checked up with Marini coming through the final corner. Martin and Binder swap, fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 1:31.211, the best from Binder. You can just see how much tyre preservation is a factor early on here. The top 20 riders at the end of lap 4 were covered by less than 5 seconds. Here comes Marquez and trying to make it back through on Marini. Binder thought about it, but Martin just 2 razor sharp on the front of that Prima Proma Ducati on the brakes into turn 3. And this melee that's building behind the top 2, Martin and Binder are starting to clear off.
It's deceptive in turn 3 as Alex Marquez now has a look at Bagnaia through on Marc Marquez, who's trying to hang him out around the outside, and he's eased off the track. Bagnaia has to do that. He can't afford to let this group get too far up the road from it.
Yeah, over the line, Bagnaia was 1.4 seconds back of Jorge Martin. At one stage in the sprint yesterday, early clashes with the younger of the Marquez brothers, and Johan Zarco really disrupted his early pace, disrupted his early rhythm, as finally Alex Marquez, well, he's attempted this move at least half a dozen occasions. This time around, coming through turn 7, he finally makes it through.
Reminder, Alex Marquez is the sole rider in this field who's on the medium rear tyre, so if he's going to be competitive, it's going to be early on, and he's trying to make hay while the sun relatively shines here. He's now up into 3rd place.
You just wonder how much Bagnaia will be feeling the heat, the raising spike of the front tyre temperature and the front tyre pressure as he's mired in this group, although he's getting on with it. Impressive work this by the world champion. A 1:31.066 is the best lap of this Grand Prix so far. So that puts him about a 10th quicker than your top two, Martin and Binder, who are nearly a second clear of Alex Marquez.
5 seconds still covers the top 18 riders on the road. So that's how relatively slow the pace is, and that's how tight the field is, as Bagnaia taking that wider entry line to give himself the best possible slingshot out of turn number 3. It's quite deceptive through there. There are 2 potential lines through that hairpin at the end of the back straight, and Bagnaia now looking to try and zero in on the back of Aleix Espargaro. This is the fight for 5th and 6th, but Martin and Binder are not exactly breaking clear at the front of this field, and Alex Marquez, with that medium rear tyre on, will surely feel he's got to get on with it quickly and try and get in touch with this leading pair before he starts to run into some rear grip issues later on.
Bagnaia can't shake off Marc Marquez, and that's a pretty perilous position to be in, isn't it? When you see plus 0.93 on your pit board and you're fighting for the MotoGP World Championship, he's desperate just to try and make sure that he doesn't leave the door open. There's no room for Marquez to stick that Repsol Honda back underneath that factory GP23. On board then with Binder, sweeping through turn 10. Right then now through the 4th gear, building up to around 270 kilometers an hour. Then you drop anchor, drop the right leg, hoping you've cut the apex right here, tight on the inside of turn 12. Martin then it is that will lead at the end of this lap 6. Marini now the quickest man on circle, and now it's his teammate Marco Bezzecchi who's crossed the line 8th place, a 1:31.032. Bez on the move. On that last lap he took Quartararo and Raul Fernandez.
And Raul Fernandez took Quartararo into turn 1 there at the back of the picture. So Raul Fernandez now up into 9th place. Quartararo drops to 10th spot, but we're still in a leading group of essentially 18 riders as Bagnaia's looking inside. Here's Quartararo fighting back against Raul Fernandez, and Sarko's going to make it 2 Frenchmen passing Raul Fernandez in the space of about 20 metres.
Yeah, Fernandez not liking the French duo right now, is he? He slips behind Quartararo and Zarco. Marco Bezzecchi, you just wonder how hard he's had to work early on to recover those lost places, how much he's already perhaps put some effort into that rear tyre, may potentially hit some grip issues later on in this Grand Prix, but he's coming on strong here. This was the move that Bezzecchi made on Fabio Quartararo, and that was really tight. How close do you want it there? Miguel Oliveira's got the black flag with the orange disc, so obviously a tech issue for Oliveira.
Either that or potentially he's got some bodywork hanging off his Aprilia, which is going to force him into the pit lane. Oliveira's running in 20th place at the moment, and he's off the back of that leading pack, so Oliveira not exactly going particularly quickly anyway, but it looks like he's going to have to retire. In fact, he has now stopped out on track.
There's Marquez.
Marquez, who made this move yesterday on the final lap of the sprint, and he's done it once again in the race itself. So Marc Marquez now into the top 6. Aleix Espargaro going the wrong way.
Awesome job again by Marc Marquez, benefiting from that 3rd row of the good. He said if you get on those first 3 rows, you can be in the game. If you make the start of the aggressive early on, you can go away with the lead group. That's exactly what he is doing right now. Of course, he's probably profiting as well from the relatively slow pace at the front of this Grand Prix. This was Bagnaia. This was him on the inside of Aleix Espargaro through the 3rd gear sweep, 175 kilometers an hour through turn 7. He made that look so easy, didn't he, Pecco Bagnaia? Aleix Espargaro at the moment going the wrong way, although he's wrestled back that 6th spot from Marc Marquez.
I thought I saw the yellow and red flag and light panel flashing out into the back straight, so maybe Miguel Oliveira had some fluid dropping out of his bike. That forced him to stop.
Aleix Espargaro and Marc Marquez, well, they had a proper battle royale at the end of the sprint yesterday, and they barged into each other coming out of the high-speed turn 4. Neither wants to give a millimetre, let alone an inch, and Aleix Espargaro back on the inside of the 8 times world champion. The problem this is allowing Bagnaia in that lead group to get away here. They've just got to calm down here, get back into their rhythm, because Marquez now has dropped back towards Bezzecchi and Quartararo, but that was so close. Some proper old-fashioned rubbing going on there between the 2 most experienced men in this MotoGP field.
This is Bagnaia coming through on Luca Marini. Bagnaia now getting up to speed, although Marini, as we saw yesterday, is very late on the brakes, and Bagnaia unable to make his way through, but it does appear now with that battle royal, as you described it, between Espargaro and Marquez, that they have lost touch with this leading 5. It cost them over a second. Marc Marquez did a 1:32.2, which was over a second slower than the leaders are going, and the fastest rider on track is now the 5th rider in your picture, the world champion Pecco Bagnaia.
Yeah, you feel he's going to have to get through on Marini pretty quickly, though. 1:38.99 is the new best race lap. There is your top 4 briefly in the same picture as they power now hard on the gas. This is where you're really punishing that rear tyre as you fire out of the first gear, turn 3, and then all the way up to 5th gear. About 300 kilometers an hour before you flick it blind entry into the left-hander turn 4, into the start of the infield section then. Martin, Binder within touching distance of the Pramac Ducati rider. Look at the tension written all over the face of Pramac Ducati boss Gino Borso. At the moment, though, his man has done a sterling job, a stellar job. He still leads this tight Grand Prix.
I don't think it's going to be back-to-back wins for Johann Zarco. Something's happened to him on this lap. I think he maybe went wide at the end of the back straight because he's lost 6 places through the second sector of this lap. He's now down to 16th.
Bezzecchi has got through on Marc Marquez as well. So Marco Bezzecchi's charge towards this lead group, he hopes, is continuing up into 7th place. Bagnaia, he looks like he's got the better speed, the better confidence coming through turn 11, where perhaps that high-speed flick might be struggling Luca Marini with the collarbone, but he's so good on the brakes in that final corner, isn't he? And again, Bagnaia just cannot get close enough to find a way through as we flick it hard right into the first corner. He will now get some slipstream right now on the rear tyre of Marini. Will he be close enough to pull out the slipstream and attack Marini on the brakes into turn 3? That's plan A right now for Bagnaia. Is he going to get this move done on the inside of Marini into turn 3? Marini leans on the world champion, but Bagnaia looks like he has got through. The Italian up to 4th, excuse me.
All the credit to Pecco Bagnaia at this stage of the race, given how the race began, given the trouble he looked to be in when Marc Marquez and, of course, Alex Marquez are both going through on Bagnaia. He's done very well here, much like in Australia, isn't it? He's kept his head. He's realised that it is a long race. We've still got 17 laps to go. The points are handed out at the end, and Pecco Bagnaia is starting to make his way into contention here.
Well, he said yesterday in the sprint that he felt like he had clear podium pace. Felt like he had the pace to go with Jorge Martin at the front. And we know how good he is at just managing that rear tyre. We saw it perfectly illustrated in Mandalika a couple of weeks ago. Alex Marquez, you just wonder at what point of this Grand Prix does he really start to suffer with that medium rear tyre. It was around lap 8 or 9 in the sprint yesterday where a few riders said that there was quite a significant drop-off, and we're at that phase of this full Grand Prix here today, so we'll keep a beady eye on the lap times right now of Alex Marquez, who, to his credit and to be fair to him, is still doing the same lap time. The top 3 all in the 1:31.1s. Bagnaia again just that slightly quicker of that lead quartet, and having got through quickly on Marini, he's been able to immediately establish an advantage of nearly 0.4 of a second over his VR46 Academy stablemate.
Although what is crucial is that the pace is noticeably slower than it was in the sprint yesterday. The fastest lap of the sprint yesterday was a 1:30.1, and so far the riders at the moment are lapping in the low 1:31, so they're a second a lap off the sprint pace of yesterday. So there is definitely some managing going on in this leading group, although you wouldn't believe it looking at the way Brad Binder is riding. But it's all going to be a case of who's managed the better, because Brad Binder admitted, didn't he, after the Phillip Island race 8 days ago, that he managed a little bit too much in the Australian Grand Prix and perhaps didn't leave himself enough to fight with later on. So we'll see who's managed this best. We've not even reached half race distance yet.
The quickest man on circuit on that last lap was Bezzecchi, who's still in 7th place. He's about a 1/4 of a second adrift of Aleix Espargaro on the factory Aprilia. That's crept up to nearly 3/10 now through the 3rd split on this lap 11 of 26. Thankfully, the rain has so far stayed away, and it's playing into the hands of Jorge Martin, who brakes hard into the 1st gear, 70 km/h turn 12, and now he'll use all of the famed Ducati acceleration to punch away from Brad Binder's KTM in 2nd place. Luca Marini actually said the KTM in the hands of Binder yesterday in the sprint was so good, punching off the low gear corners in particular. The acceleration and drive grip that the KTM had with that new carbon fibre chassis was on par with the Ducatis. But at the moment, Binder still keeping that watching brief in second place behind your race leader, Martin.
Bezzecchi looked like he was up the inside of Aleix Espargaro in the background. We'll try and keep a glimpse of them as they come out of turn 3, and Bezzecchi has indeed made his way through. So we've now got the Muni VR46 Ducatis running 5th and 6th, and Bezzecchi, as you mentioned a lap or two ago, was the fastest rider on circuit. It's very little to choose at the moment between our leading 10. The fastest rider on track is actually Maverick Vinales running in 10th.
Yeah, there he is, just out of your picture behind former factory Yamaha teammate Fabio Quartararo. Now then, Marquez versus Aleix Espargaro, part 12 it feels like, doesn't it, here this weekend in Thailand. We're looking back from the factory of Buriram briefly. Now we're on board with Repsol Honda's Marquez as they come into turn 8. You'll keep it right, second gear, now through turn 9 before you start to really build up the speed and momentum through this final sector, where we know how good Marc Marquez is. Just having a look out of that comfy watch position, I can still see Martin has it by 3 or 4 bike lengths over Binder in the braking zone for turn 12. Still hanging in there. Great job this by Alex Marquez. No obvious signs at the moment of his pace slacking off with that fading medium rear tyre. In fact, he's just in another 1:31.222. So he's still right on the money here, Marquez, in third.
Yeah, the longer this race goes, the more that he will begin to start to question just how much grip he's going to have towards the end, because we're now coming up to half race distance. 1.5 seconds covers the leading 5 at the moment. Marco Bezzecchi having got the move done on Aleix Espargaro. He's put some space between himself and the Aprilia rider, although he's not particularly closed in on his teammate to this point. But Bezzecchi will feel that still a long way to go. If he can keep his tyre in towards the end, he's not out of contention yet. Just 2.6 seconds off the race lead.
So if you lob the checkered flag right now, it would be, what, a 6-point advantage in favour of Martin going to the crunch final triple header of the season. You could just see there Martin, looked like he just was standing that bike up a little bit more than the other riders behind him, maybe just to protect some of the edge grip here, coming through turn 5 and 6. I wonder what's going through the mind of Bagnaia here, because he's clearly seen that Martin has not had the speed, or is not willing to put the hammer down early on and make a crucial breakaway at the front. So he might feel at the moment, Bagnaia, like he's quite content. What happens, sit in that 4th place and just see how it unfolds in the second half of this Grand Prix. Oh, Alex Marquez has crashed out of 3rd place, and that's a gift, isn't it, for Bagnaia? Didn't even have to work hard for that final place on the podium as it stands right now. We thought it might be the fading rear grip that was going to hurt Alex Marquez, but it's a front-end washout that sees the former Moto2 and Moto3 world champion on the floor here in Mandalika. He tried so hard to save it, but it wasn't coming back. Through turn 10, the Grazini cartwheels through the gravel trap, and that immediately is 3 extra points back in the hands of Bagnaia. Championship live, now 9 points the gap.
Rare to see it crash through turn number 10. We don't see many of those, do we? But it certainly helped Pecco Bagnaia, and it's not helped Alex Marquez. We'll never find out how that medium rear tyre would have managed in the second half of the race, because he didn't make it too far into the second half of the race. So I think what will be interesting now is how quickly Bagnaia zooms up to the back of Martin and Binder. I think he was playing a bit of a patient game there in 4th place, perhaps drawing on the experience of Phillip Island last weekend when he played it absolutely spot on in terms of the management of his rear tyre. So if Bagnaia very quickly zooms up to the back of this leading pair, we'll know that they're certainly riding within themselves at this stage of the race.
High-speed game of chess this right now. This is all about leading this Thai Grand Prix at the slowest possible speed, with tyre preservation at the forefront of his mind, in particular for Jorge Martin. Do not discount the Muni VR46 riders as well. Marini still 4th, Bezzecchi in 5th place, and he's once again on that previous lap, number 72 of Bez, in those high 130s. Simon, this is clearly a race right now of tactics and strategy. We'll come down to you very, very shortly when the lead group fire past your position down in pit lane. So there you can just see Brad Binder getting the message. Or was it Martin getting the message? Yeah, 33 and 1. Yeah, 33 and 1. He's got the closest for company. John Zarco has got himself back up in a 13th place, ahead of Frankie Morbidelli on that lap 14. But it's been a bit of a horrible weekend for Zarco, fresh off his Phillip Island success in 13th place. As we just mentioned, Simon, this clearly is a race of strategy, a race of tactics. What have you made of it so far?
Yeah, it really is. First of all, Alex Marquez's crash, it was right when he opened the throttle while turning left. It just unloaded the front and pushed it. So I'm feeling a little bit sorry for him. I'll just run down through what I've seen. I mean, Jorge Martin doing exactly what he planned, managing it, not getting overtaken, not getting beaten up, but managing that tyre ready for the fight at the end. Binder, awesome job at scything through, which is so difficult on those opening laps, but he did it in the spot that he wants to be. Then Bagnaia, Pecco, he got beaten up so badly, even though he's got the pace, because he wasn't worried about overtaking. The problem is, when you're not overtaking, there's axe murders all around you attacking. He just kept getting beaten up, so he had to get on with it. But yeah, awesome job. Those three clearly have the pace. Luca Marini is more difficult to pass. Luca's riding really well. He runs in general a longer bike, which makes it hard to overtake because he can brake so late. And Marco Bezzecchi, and I think in these three front men, I think they're the ones that will have the pace at the end. I'm really looking forward to see what happens.
Yeah, we are too in the comedy box here, Simon. Thanks for those observations. This is one of the most tactical races, strategic races we have seen so far in 2023. It's all going to be a case of who has saved the rear tyre the best for those last crunch 5 or 6 laps. You feel it's been as you were in your top two pretty much from the get-go here in Buriram, having to do some seriously hard work to get his way through from what, 7th or 8th at one stage early on this Grand Prix. Is Bagnaia, who was certainly helped with the crash from Alex Marquez when the Gresini racing rider was just ahead of him in 3rd place. We're looking now forward to Luca Marini. Our cameraman for that particular shot was Marco Bezzecchi, who looks like he's kept some life in that tyre as well to maybe get himself up into 4th place, if not better.
Yeah, does Marco Bezzecchi still think he can win this Grand Prix? If he does, then I think he needs to make his way past Luca Marini relatively soon, although, of course, that leading trio aren't getting too far on the road. There's only around a second between Bagnaia in 3rd and Marini in 4th, but Bezzecchi will surely feel the longer this race goes, the better he will get. It's just whether he's got enough time to close on that leading 3 as the pace continues to hold in those low to mid 131s. Fastest rider of that leading 6 at the moment was Aleix Espargaro, who is running in 6th as he tries to come back at the PR46 Ducatis.
If there's ever a luxury position to be in at this stage of a MotoGP race, you feel that Pecco Bagnaia might just well be in it, because at the moment he can just see exactly what the 2 riders ahead of him are doing out on circuits. Quartararo is about to fight on the inside of Marc Marquez. Flashbacks to 2019, ladies and gentlemen. And also Bagnaia just got that little bit of a breathing space. He's got nobody directly behind him who's threatening to lunge on his inside or run him off the optimum racing line. So at the moment he just seems perfectly happy, perfectly content just to slot in behind Martin and Binder, and then we'll see what he's got left in that Michelin rear tyre towards the crucial final 3rd of this Grand Prix, because at the moment it looks relatively comfortable for Bagnaia in that 3rd spot.
High quality battle that, wasn't it, for 7th and 8th between Marquez and Quartararo. Behind them is Vinales, who's running in 9th, although he's lost touch with that pair up ahead of him that were fighting for 7th and 8th. Then it's Di Gianantonio running 10th. We've not seen any signs of that podium potential that we thought he had through practice on Friday. Then it's Ralph Fernandez and Joan Mir. Zarco, Morbidelli and Miller complete your point scorers at the moment, with only 10 seconds covering the top 15.
This feels like it's as close as Brad Binder has been for some time, honing in on Martin's rear tyre. Just wonder as well if Pecco Bagnaia is just sitting off that top 2 just to make sure he doesn't overheat that front tyre, because front tyre temperature and pressure always a factor in MotoGP, particularly when the ambient temperature here in Buriram has rocketed to over 31 degrees. That will be at the back of his mind as well. On board with Binder, he has done all of the front running so far in this Thai Grand Prix. Bezzecchi does finally find a way through on his teammate Marini, but it was a very short-lived experience. Just running that, metre hot on a little slightly wider line, and easing back through on the cutback was Luca Marini. So Bez has got to do all the hard work once again, and here he goes, wasting little time. In fact, he waited, one corner? At least they're swapping the same paintwork, I guess you could say, as Marini then has the advantage back as they come through turn 5. This is the battle for 4th and 5th.
Good for the sponsors, but it's not necessarily helping either of their podium prospects at the moment as they slow each other up. But Pecco clearly is quite keen to get on with this as the leading three do start to stretch clear a little bit now. Quartararo has now got the better of Marc Marquez in that battle for 7th and 8th. Quartararo, of course, famously back in Indonesia had far and away the superior grip at the latter stages of that race, so he'll feel the longer this goes, he could still come into contention for a top 6 finish. But Binder, once again, very, very close on the back of Martin. Tell you what will be in the front of Brad Binder's mind, the fact that he hasn't won a MotoGP full-length Grand Prix for 2 years.
Pecco, has he finally made it through? This is the 3rd time of asking on that lap 18 alone. They come side by side. Pecco does have it. He cuts the nose off of Marini into the first corner. So now then, there's still 8 laps to go here, and it's not mission impossible that Marco Pecco, is going to be a big ask. Quite a tough task to get himself back into podium contention, but he is finally through up into 4th place, on board with Binder. So good on the brakes on Friday practice and throughout this Buriram Grand Prix weekend. He's been mustered. He's been so good into turn 1 and turn 3 in the first sector. Just thinking that Marini was about to strike back on Pecco.
I think he briefly had.
Yeah, Binder as well has been so good in that final split. It looks like he's got the better corner speed coming through the high-speed turn number 11, doesn't it? But Martin is just able to resist into turn 12. That's where he's been so good on the brakes.
Yeah, so Marini had slipstream past Pecco on the way to turn number 3, swept across his front tyre, but Pecco was making sure he eased Marini all the way onto the green paint on the outside of turn number 3 there. So it's an entertaining tussle between the BR46 teammates, but this is the battle that we certainly want to be watching, the battle for the lead. Bagnaia on that last lap had lost 3 or 4 tenths to the leading pair. If he is giving his front tyre pressure and temperature a little bit of a breather, he might want to quickly get back involved in this, because Binder is zooming up to the back of Jorge Martin. And with 7 laps to go at the end of this one, we're getting towards that stage where we're going to find out who has saved their tyre the best.
Big threat coming here, isn't it, for Martin? Brad Binder has been close, but not close enough to even just show Martin his front tyre. The last 5 or 6 laps, so now Martin will see on his pit board, plus 0.33, picking up some slipstream. Now comes the factory KTM star. Is he going to be close enough? No, Martin, how good is Martin on the brakes of that Prima Prama Ducati into the tight 2nd gear, turn 2. Knee and elbow scraping on the deck there as Martin now gets back on the fat part of the tyre, picks up the drive grip on that factory Ducati, still somehow withstanding this onslaught from Binder.
Martin with everything to lose, Brad Binder with nothing to lose. He's now mathematically out of world title contention. So Brad Binder, in the remaining races that we have in 2023, is out there for one thing and one thing only, and that is for race wins. As mentioned, he's had to go 2 years without a full-length win. He does not want to wait any longer, and here he comes up the inside of Martin.
Here he goes, and Binder finally picks his moment, although he's going to go in wide, and Martin will squeeze back to the inside line. They rub knees together. That was really close. We now come through turn 10. Left-hander where Alex Marquez dumped the Gresini Ducati out of 3rd place a few laps ago. Through 11 we go now. Martin quickly wanting to get himself back to the front. He knows how significant, how important this 25 points could be in the World Championship. That little tussle here, though, is just bringing Bagnaia right back into contention. He wasn't out of it, but Bagnaia over the line now is just exactly half a second behind Martin.
And Bagnaia's pace is still very good. He's still lapping in the low 131s. It was a 31.5 for each of the leading pair, as Binder has now shown his wheel once. This time, is he going to attack into turn number 3? We saw how late Martin was on the brakes.
That's going to be so close. He's going to squeeze Martin out.
How can he stop that? No, he doesn't.
No, he's not. And now that's the 2nd time there in the space of 2 laps that Binder has made it through, but he hasn't been able to make it clearly through. And pull away at the front potentially here. Again, there's a big head shake coming on the KTM over in the blind crest with the 4th gear, turn 4. Twice then in 2 laps, Binder has hit the front, albeit very briefly. And looks like to me he's just got the better edge grip. Yeah. The better edge grip on that KTM compared to Martin's Prima Prama Ducati. This is all on. So much pressure, so much tension, so much at stake for Martin and Bagnaia, and they're almost now, you could throw a handkerchief over them, couldn't you, here, as he build towards a thrilling finale here in Buriram. It's Martin, Binder and Bagnaia. They're not even covered by 4 or 5 bike lengths together, are they, as they now come through the final sector on lap 21.
Luca Marini, who's just lost 5th to Alicia Spargo, said the acceleration of that KTM was unbelievable yesterday. So on the way out of corners, look at Binder, he nearly ran into the back of Martin, and Pecco's eyes are going to light up with that one.
Yeah, Bagnaia was just squeezing the optimal racing line there. Binder got sucked into turn 12, didn't he? Or was that just the overheating and the pressure on that front tyre? Still somehow standing tall, standing firm at the front of this Buriram Grand Prix is number 89, Martin, who will be clawing back 9 points in this championship battle. He brakes as hard and as late as he dares into that tight turn 3. Binder again can't find his way through. What a race we have on our hands here. It's been coming to the boil in Buriram, and now it really is hotting up. Martin, Binder's going to try and find a way through into the 4th gear turn 4. No, he's not close enough.
Well, how long is Bagnaia prepared to just sit and watch this? We're certainly enjoying watching this battle for the lead, but does Bagnaia have some extra grip underneath his rear tyre to potentially attack this pair? Is he at the moment quite content just to let this play out up ahead of him? If Binder gets through on Martin, surely Bagnaia will very quickly look to do the same.
Again, it just looks like Binder's got the better corner speed. He's coming through again on Martin into turn 8. He's going to go wide again, and Martin will try and nab that inside line back. This time around, though, Binder slams the door shut in the face of the poleman and the Spaniard. Now then, Bagnaia, can he sense that there's still a victory on the table for him? He comes through turn 11. Is he going to attack Martin quickly here? No, he's not going to be close enough, but it's going to be Brad Binder on the factory KTM. It's already been a phenomenal sporting weekend, hasn't it, for South Africa after their Rugby World Cup triumph last night. And Binder on course for back-to-back KTMs here in Buriram. He leads over the line, 4 laps to go here.
By attacking this early, does Brad Binder think he's got enough speed to pull away from Jorge Martin and Pecco Bagnaia? It's not going to be an easy thing to do. It's a very difficult track to break away on, and we know that Ducati is very quick down the straights as Martin closes in again on the back of Brad Binder. Further back, Fabio Quartararo's also flying. He's now gotten through on Luca Marini, so Quartararo through into the top 6 and now closing in on Alicia Spargo.
Binder was much the quicker man on that previous lap at 1:31.4. That was 4 tenths quicker than Martin, 3 tenths quicker than Bagnaia. This is now a massive test, isn't it, of the risk and reward ratio for our 2 title contenders. How much are they going to be willing to throw it all on the line here to try and snatch a last gasp victory from Binder, who sweeps through turn 7. This looks like he's where he had that marginal advantage in terms of the edge grip through the faster flying parts of this Buriram circuit. Binder, what, 6 half-dozen bike lengths now clear of Martin. That's where he has been strong in this 3rd split. He's now nearly 3.5 tenths clear of Martin.
Well, does Pecco Bagnaia want to win this race, or does he just want to make sure he finishes ahead of Jorge Martin? I think that will be his major priority. Finish ahead of Martin first and foremost, and then see what I've got left for Brad Binder. Martin is on the absolute limit now, and he's got 3 laps to go to either make his way back through on Binder or just make sure that he gains points on Bagnaia.
How defensive did Martin go there? He was almost in the middle of the circuit, breaking into turn 12. He was so wary of defending a potential attack from Bagnaia behind him. Pecco Bagnaia so desperately wants those extra 4 points here. He'd moved 22 points clear in the championship with just 3 to go. Bagnaia hard on the front end of that factory Ducati into turn 3. It's still Binder that has the advantage of 4 or 5 bike lengths as they pick up the acceleration grip now out of turn 3.
Yeah, Martin's not showing any possibility yet of being able to counter-attack on Brad Binder, although Binder has not broken clear. There was very little choose between them on the most recent lap. They did a 31.5 and a 31.6 respectively, so Martin is still very much in this, but you kind of feel, looking at this leading trio, that the most likely move to come next will be for 2nd place rather for the lead.
You can see Binder there, that rear tyre was squirming underneath him as he asked for the power coming between turns 5 and 6. So you can see also now that Binder has not been able to get away, having hit the front 2 or 3 laps to go. Maverick Vinales cuts a very forlorn figure. The factory Aprilia man pulls into the pits. A forgettable Buriram Grand Prix weekend for the Spaniard. Now then, Bagnaia now is starting to build some speed and momentum in this final sector. I don't think he's going to be close enough to launch away. Martin goes super defensive again, doesn't he, on that inside. He's doing everything within his power here to resist Bagnaia and limit the damage in the championship here. He will not want to finish behind Bagnaia, having led so much of this tight Grand Prix. 2 to go here in Buriram, and it's still in the hands of KTM and Binder.
Put the flag out now. It will be a 14-point gap between Bagnaia and Martin. If the second and third riders swap places, it would go up to 22 points. So quite on the line. Martin's actually coming back at Binder here.
Oh, fair play. Look at this by Martin. He knows it's going to be really, really close. He's going to squeeze Binder out wide, and coming through is Bagnaia. They almost touch. In fact, Bagnaia's front tyre did rub on Binder's rear tyre. Another big swing in this World Championship battle. Martin back at the front, lap and a half to go in this Thai Classic.
Massive credit to Martin there. We thought his victory prospects were potentially fading. He now goes through on Binder, and Bagnaia surely now has to go on the offensive. He can't allow Martin to win this race with a KTM between himself and his chief title rival. It would be down to just 9 points.
What can Bagnaia do here later? What can Binder do as well, as Martin then is back at the front of this Buriram Grand Prix? Here comes Binder. That's where he's been so good. That's been his favourite overtaking hotspot through turn 8. Again, he almost can reach out and grab Jorge Martin's exhaust pipe there, can't he, on that Pramac Ducati. We have got 1 lap and 2 corners remaining here in what has been another Buriram thriller. Around the outside, here comes Pecco Bagnaia. Look at this by the world champion around the outside of both Martin and Binder. Astonishing bravery and skill there by the world champion. Last lap underway. Martin, Bagnaia or Binder, who is going to win this Thai Grand Prix?
How did Bagnaia get such a slingshot out of turns 10 and 11? He almost had to make that move and go around the outside. Our 2 previous Thai Grand Prix here have both been decided at turn number 12. I think we're heading for a third here.
Overtaking hotspot into 3. Binder's not going to be close enough to fire the KTM on the inside of Martin. Martin defending resolutely here at the front of this Thai Grand Prix. He knows this will be a massive victory for him. He now gets the power down, streaks away from Binder as they tack now towards the 4th gear, turn 4. It looks like Bagnaia is running out of time here in 3rd place.
Binder's best opportunity, based on what we've seen so far, will be into turn number 8. This is turn number 5. We've got a couple more left-handers before they turn it right through 7. Binder has attacked twice already into 8. This might be his best opportunity, or does he dare leave it for turn number 12?
And what about Bagnaia? Has he got something up his sleeve? Is there an ace up his sleeve in that final sector? Yet again, he squeezes that front brake as hard as he dares. He tries to hunt down Martin and Binder. It's all on the line then now in this final sector in Buriram. They'll flick it hard left through turn 10. Who is going to win this epic, thrilling last lap showdown here? It looks like it's going to be Martin, but here comes Binder. Martin goes super defensive. How tight is Jorge Martin going to go in this final corner? Will Binder get him on the cutback? What about Pecco Bagnaia? Martin completes the dream treble in Thailand. Pole, sprint win and the Grand Prix win in one of the best MotoGP races we've seen in many a long time. What a Grand Prix here in Buriram. Martin takes it by just over 1/10 of a second. Brad Binder. Bagnaia has to settle for 3rd place. Look at the faces down there in the Pramac Ducati garage. What an unbelievable Grand Prix that was. Wow, look at those scenes. After the crushing disappointments of Mandalika, after the crushing disappointments of Phillip Island last weekend, what a way to bounce back for Jorge Martin. Absolutely incredible. He could not have gone any harder, any more defensive into that turn 12. So close. Wow, that's crucial. Wow. Brad Binder, this has happened before, wasn't it?
Twice in Assen.
In the sprint. So Binder has been demoted 1 position, an automatic 1 position drop penalty on the final lap, and that's going to put Bagnaia. Oh, that was crystal clear, wasn't it? That was obvious. We were so focused on the battle at the front. That one just escaped our attention, but Binder himself must have known he was wide there, coming through turn 4. What a gift for Bagnaia.
Well, it's a gift of 4 points that Bagnaia gained, so it's a 5-point game for Jorge Martin. It's down to 13 points between Bagnaia and Martin. But for all of the incredible victories by incredible distances that Jorge Martin has claimed this year, that win, which now that Bagnaia's second, came by 1/4 of a second, I think that's the best victory of Jorge Martin's MotoGP career. That wasn't a runaway, that wasn't a dominant solo job. He had to fight hard for that because Brad Binder and Pecco Bagnaia threw the kitchen sink at him. But Jorge Martin had the answers to every single question.
We wanted a Buriram Barnstormer, we wanted a Buriram Belter, and that is exactly what we have got. Game on in this year's MotoGP World Championship. 13 points as he punches through the screen there at Jorge Martin. He will not care. The mechanics won't care about that one, because what a race that was. Binder did take the checkered flag in second place, but he's demoted one position. I'm sure they're now just informing Pecco Bagnaia. Can you imagine if Martin loses the World Championship by 4 points after what just happened on that last lap?
Well, could you imagine if Brad Binder had passed Martin into the final corner? He'd have lost the win.
That was one heck of a MotoGP race. That is why, unashamedly, we say that this is the best motorsport show on planet Earth. That was an absolute classic. What a race. Nearly 76,000 fans here in Buriram today. A weekend crowd of nearly 180,000. Fair to say that they got their money's worth. What a race that was. There is the damaged screen for Jorge Martin. Superb. Somebody's running out of fuel
there, I think, from Marco Bezzecchi. It's Augusto Fernandez who's getting the lift. He came across the line in 17th place. Bezzecchi in 4th, and I think with that goes any lingering title hopes for him. He's now 79 points behind Pecco Bagnaia, with 3 Grand Prix and 3 sprints still to go. But we have got a titanic two-way tussle still to come in Sepang, in Qatar, and in Valencia. And once again, Jorge Martin answers any questions that were posed of him. He looked very tense, didn't he, before this race began? And it looked as if Brad Binder had the superior grip towards the end, as he makes his own little piece of history, with Jorge Martin proving that he is MotoGP World Champion material in those closing laps.
You beauty, Buriram. Absolutely awesome, phenomenal Grand Prix. Look what it means to Jorge Martin. That's how you rebound from 2 tough weekends. After Phillip Island last weekend, when he lost it 8 corners from the end, didn't even finish on the podium, having led for 26.5 laps. He said Mandalika in Australia were really painful, but how quickly has he put that disappointment behind him? Game on, no question, in this year's MotoGP World Championship. 13 points. He takes 14 out of Bagnaia over the sprint and over the Grand Prix here today. There's Ducati Lenovo team boss Davide Tardozzi. Not quite sure where he's hot-footing it to. But Martin, then, it is that wins by just over a quarter of a second in what was a race that had us on the edge of our seats, had us gnawing the fingernails from the first corner to the last corner. MotoGP at its absolute best. What a show that was. What a show. Bagnaia still, though, importantly, goes to Malaysia as the World Championship leader.
Which, given that he was 7th in the early stages when he was getting beaten up a bit by the Marquez brothers, that's quite a bit of a save for Bagnaia. Although we're going to have to get to the point, of course, where Bagnaia is not going to be able to play the championship game and sit behind Martin. He's going to have to start beating him, because Martin's not backing off. Brad Binder certainly made those 2 Ducati riders work for it here today, as Jorge Martin nearly slips over in part firme. That's the only slip-up I think we've seen from him all day.
What about that insane move? I think it was second to last lap when Bagnaia rode around the outside of Binder and Martin. A breathtaking attempt going into the hard braking zone for turn 12. Somewhat subdued, I think it's fair to say, those celebrations in the factory Ducati team, because they have seen Martin eat a fair old chunk into their World Championship advantage. And as Davide Tardozzi and Gino Borsoi predicted here in Buriram pre-weekend, it does look like this could go all the way down to a final round showdown in Valencia. That young man there, well, he showed his pure class. When you think of the frustration, the pain, as he described it, of not winning those last 2 Grand Prix when he led both of them for such a long period of time. 3 seconds clear in Mandalika, no points. 3 seconds clear in Australia, just 11 points. That was some response, wasn't it, from Martin, who gets the embrace from his ecstatic Prima Pramac Ducati squad. Incredible race. That final lap, Martin and Bagnaia, their lap times differed by just 0.03 of a second. There's an embrace between the 2 title contenders. We've seen it perhaps a little warmer in previous Grand Prix, but these two now know they are engaged in what is a cliffhanger conclusion to this year's MotoGP World Championship. That's the special moment, the sweet moment, as Martin masters Buriram, and for the third time, the fourth time in 2023, he completes the full house, the clean sweep, fourth treble, the pole, sprint win and Grand Prix win. And that one will feel that little bit more special because the manner that he did it was quite astonishing.
He had to fight for that one, didn't he? He really had to fight for that one. Brad Binder, you feel for him, of course, not so much for the track limits on the final lap because that's pretty open and shut, but once again he comes so close to the race victory. Third in the end for Brad Binder. He's with Simon.
Brad, again, such a wonderful effort. What a fight. I know you wanted to win, but how do you feel about second?
Look, I tried my best today. I left nothing on the table. Behind Jorge, I tried my absolute best to keep as much rubber for the end as I could. And when I saw my opportunity, I tried to go. But one lap after that, the base rubber hit, and that was it for my rear tire. But I'm really happy with the way we rode today. I didn't leave anything on the table, like I said. My team did a terrific job, and I'm sure the win's coming.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
He gave his all, and he was mighty, mighty close, wasn't he? Took the checkered flag in second place, but the late off-track excursion, the late exceeding track limits coming through turn 4 meant that he was pumped back down to third place. It was a great ride by the 28-year-old South African on his first Grand Prix podium since the Red Bull Ring in Austria. South African fans have certainly had their entertainment, a double podium finish for Brad Binder. As we hear from the reigning world champion, he gave his all as well. Second place for Pecco. He's with Simon.
Pecco, that looked like a difficult one, getting roughed up early on, if you can hear me, and fighting your way back through some crazy overtakes there. Tell us about your race.
I was feel like I was in a game room. It was incredible, like a punji ball. But finally, coming back was not easy for the tire consumption. In the last lap I was a bit on the limit, but finishing second is positive for a championship, considering the weekend, considering where I was at the start. So very happy with the overall, and we had to continue like this.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Certainly earned his money today, didn't he, the world champion? He was duffed around and beaten up in the early part of that Grand Prix, but as so often we see, he just did not get flustered, did not panic, and just slowly worked his way through the pack. Alex Marquez, he had a good early battle with. Marquez actually was running in third place, a strong third on the Gresini Ducati when he crashed out at turn 10. Listening to the riders that ran the hard rear tire and their late grip issues, you do wonder if Alex Marquez was able to sustain that pace as we look at a replay there. Two greats of modern day MotoGP, locking horns side by side. This was the move late on. This was second to last lap. I don't know whether he might have just missed his braking marker there or something, but Bagnaia around the outside of Binder and Martin. It was spectacular to watch from start to finish. And when all said and done, like he said, it could be a hugely significant and important 20 points in the World Championship.
You can see already the shake of the head, the exultation as Martin knows that the victory is going to be his. Brad Binder has to settle for what he thought at that point was second place. It became third, but a huge victory for Jorge Martin, your tie Grand Prix winners with Simon.
Jorge, it looked like you've really learned over this season and you managed that so well. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm so happy. This feeling is amazing because today I wasn't better than them. I had same tools, same tires, but I didn't have a better pace than them, and I had to push more than 100% the last laps to stay in front, to overtake back Brad, to overtake back Pecco, and then pushing the last lap like it was qualifying. The pace was great, the management was great, and thanks to all the people that support me. I know hard moments are tough, but they make you stronger.
Congratulations.
Those hard moments do make you stronger. That was some ride, wasn't it, by Jorge Martin. That was a race that we're going to remember for quite some time. Just a quarter of a second, a little bit more, splitting the top four. believe it's the 4th closest Premier Class finish in a full distance Grand Prix. Looking at the gap in the top 10, just 9.3 seconds. Certainly in the top 10 closest top 10s in history as we look at this incredible last lap. There you go, 4th closest Premier Class podium of all time. Certainly one of the closest top 10s, certainly one of the closest top 15s as well. The checkered flag, Ralph Fernandez, just 15 seconds back. So records are plenty in that Buriram race here, the 4th closest Premier Class podium of all time. This is the 74th year of the World Championship. There has been hundreds and hundreds of Grand Prix that have gone before this one, and that was the 4th closest top 3 in history over a full distance. Look at these scenes, absolute scenes inside Prima Ducati. They won't care about the long flight back home to Europe now, will they? Crew chief Daniele Romagnoli looks on. Tears from the mechanics as well. Feels like that could be a big win for Jorge Martin. One that he'll reflect on if he does indeed get crowned 2023 MotoGP World Champion.
I think he certainly proved this afternoon, if we weren't sure of it already, that he's got the speed and he's got the bottle to go all the way to the wire in this World Championship battle. We'll pause to listen to our top 3 finishers as they make their way over to the podium.
Ma se non arrivavi alla fine. Io stavo controllando un po', ma a 12 alla fine ho provato a spingere e non c'era niente. Non c'era un cazzo. Ma se spingevi all'inizio per me è peggio.
Io ho spinto tutta la gara perché io ho preso, io avevo fatto un sacco di botte
durante la gara.
Io recuperavo tantissimo alle frenate e al settore 3. Ma voi eravate fortissimi alla 1 e alla 2.
A uscire? Sì. Perché secondo te hai usato più la gomma. Io non ho aperto gas mai, sai?
Io potevi correre con il software. La media potevi correre.
Sei fuori? Mi faccio girare 3 secondi. Ostia, quando ti ho visto all'esterno dico no. Dico questo è troppo. Mi vergognavo, sai?
Ma avete frenato pianissimo. Non so se
io ho chiuso molto.
Non so se per il riferimento, ma...
So we hear there from our top 3. All, it seems, not willing to push an attack at the start of that Grand Prix. They knew it was all going to be about the tyre conservation, who can manage it the best. What a race. Just incredible. You run out of superlatives, don't you, to describe MotoGP at the moment. This overseas triple header has delivered and some.
I never start well now. Ma inizio drammatico.
Allora la base.
Alex was fast. Ulla.
Sorry.
I tried back there, but
Also Alex Marquez was the soft.
Yeah?
that's why he was fast.
Alex,
¿Cómo ha acabado? Fatal.
How far were the guys behind us? What was the gap to 4th?
Big.
I
No,
was.
maybe not that much.
Because I saw every lap was just the group, so I don't know how far behind we were still.
My whole race was 0.1, 0.2, 0, 0.1, 0.1, 0.2. This one was good.
Fuck.
I used the tire there.
I said maybe he will do the same as me, and I take the advantage.
both.
Wow, this one was close also. Wow, was a nice race, fuck.
At the end, coming out of this back corner was like...
This one, yeah, here you go.
Yeah, this last time I had to close.
How we touch
Oh!
you. Like me and you in Saxo in the
Wow,
same.
questa è stata una roba.
I think yeah, still the rubber in the middle, right?
Il primo giro ho spinto tipo time attack. Primo giro, mamma mia. What happened? You touched the green?
Yeah, I lose the front and 4.
Where you touch the green?
And then
You were
close.
this.
Okay, so the podium celebration's about to get underway at the end of an absolute corker here in Buriram. The Changi International Circuit delivers the 4th closest Premier Class podium in history, and it is tight at the top. 13 points covering Bagnaia and Martin as we head to Sepang in 2 weeks' time. But listen to the reception that our top 3 MotoGP stars here in Thailand will get after an epic last lap thriller here in Thailand.
Whatever the ovation they get, it won't be loud enough for the entertainment that they put on for us today. In particular, Brad Binder, who made so much of the entertainment happen in the second half of that race as he launched his attack on Jorge Martin. As he explained, just as he hit the front, he began to run out of rear tyre. As Jorge Martin calls on the crowd to make some noise, and they certainly return the favour. Jorge Martin with his 4th Sunday win of the season. And of course, he has been the Saturday Sprint Master so far this year. Of course, we head to Sepang next, a race that Pecco Bagnaia won last year, but Jorge Martin led before he crashed out of the lead. So it will be interesting to see who enjoys the supremacy there. Podium for Brad Binder, number 4 of the season, and his first Sunday podium since Austria. Good to see Brad Binder back on the box. Surely in the last 3 races he's going to be going all out for victory. Second place for Pecco Bagnaia, although he was 3rd on the road, of course, promoted by that 1 position penalty for Brad Binder. 20 very useful points for Pecco Bagnaia, although he does lose 5 to Jorge Martin. That's this heavyweight tussle for the World Championship. Looks set to go all the way down to the wire. But a sweet, sweet feeling for Jorge Martin. A race-winning trophy that will take pride of place as Martin wins a belter in Buriram.
It is another treble for Jorge Martin. What a Grand Prix. They called it Amazing Thailand. Well, that was certainly the most appropriate word to describe that amazing 26-lap OR Grand Prix of Thailand as the race-winning Prosecco gets poured. Jorge Martin, 13 points behind Pecco Bagnaia. Just 3 races remaining. We get a well-earned week off now after an intense run in India, Japan, Indonesia, Australia, and here in Thailand. But we can't wait to be back. We're all looking forward to seeing the latest chapter, the latest thriller in this unfolding drama between Pecco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin at the top of this championship.